I think that now with where we're at and what we've learned and what we've gone through, and the work that we've put in, has given us this permission to land in this beautiful place where with whatever we do forward, we don't have to work hard. It's going to be work, but it doesn't have to be hard. My name is Danny Pomploon, and this is the Seeker and Sage podcast. Yo, everybody. Welcome back to the show. So this is the part 2, actually, of last week's episode with Rocky. The first part, obviously, was me sharing kind of where my journey is at. Rocky and I haven't been on the podcast in quite a while, so we took turns, and this week we got him on the show. As per usual, you can expect some pretty fun shenanigans between the both of us because it's Rocky and Danny. We wouldn't have it any other way. I got to hear a lot about Rocky's journey and hear where he's at with yoga and just what he's up to, and a lot of good insight as to what's happening with him and our worlds, and yeah, all the fun stuff. Don't forget to head over to iTunes and leave us a review, y'all. The show is slowly growing, and it's because y'all are helping. So sharing the show with your friends and also leaving a review is a great way to get the show to keep going. And without further ado, here goes Rocky and myself.
Let's just say before this podcast, I avoided hard, Bubs.
Okay, well, this is a great intro.
Oh, we're recording.
Yeah, we're
Let's just say
this is good.
Let's just say there's vacancies because she voided. Okay.
Oh god, Rocky, this is part 2 of last week.
Thank you, Danny. I need you to wait. Are you talking about Thursday? This is Thursday part 2.
This is Thursday part 2.
So then, okay, so Thursday's just started last week. So then will next week be Thursday part 3?
We can. Do you feel like doing a part 3 next week?
Are we talking about? Because we recorded an episode last Thursday. That was
yeah. Right. I feel like you didn't.
Part 1.
I definitely don't feel heard from last week.
It's probably I can't. Can you hear me? Because I can't hear anything. Did I mute my cans?
Okay, so I think
keep us on track.
Last week,
keep us on track.
Last week we were discussing, kind of what we're up to and blah 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 blah, and we were going to do a little check-in, and you just got to talk all about yourself last week, and so
I was what are some of your wins what are some of your wins as of the last few months? You're like about being a studio.
I was like, yeah, Rocky, you're talking so much. Oh my god, yeah, we can kind of get some air in here,
Yeah, I feel like it's so interesting how we can have such a different experience, and like who's right,
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, perception.
Yeah. So I guess I'll since I didn't really have a chance to speak last week, I can start the conversation this week.
Yes, and I will try. Because I'll try my best to make you feel heard, but I already lost my train of thought. I was thinking about something else. Go. Now you go.
No, I'm kidding. So I got to share all my wins, and then we got the time on episode air. So we didn't get to hear about your wins and what you're up to. And
it was convenient because as soon as we were talking about wins, I was like, oh shit, I don't have any. And then you started talking about your wins, and I was like, oh god, I need a part 2 so I could go out and get some wins.
Right.
So I am excited to announce kind of a big deal.
Win.
That I'm winning. You might want to take a sip of water.
Hold on, wait. It's Topo Chico, though. I don't want to spit this out. It's too good.
What do you mean spit?
This episode is brought to you by Topo Chico.
You don't sit planning to spit. You spit because you're taken aback by the surprise of the information. I just want you to be well hydrated for the news.
Right, but it's like, but I'm hydrating with Topo Chico. Again, this episode is brought to you by Topo Chico.
Your dream sponsor. Your dreams are coming true, Danny.
Every time I say the word Topo Chico, I just get $5 directly deposited into my bank account. So we're good.
Yeah, but if you say Topo Chico in the mirror 5 times, you're actually cursed by an evil spirit that seeks vengeance. Give it a try and let us know in the comments below how.
10 years of dehydration. Dehydrated skin.
If you say it 5 times.
Got it.
So big news. I decided on a whim that I'm going to open a yoga studio in San Francisco. Wait, hear it out. Okay.
Well, then I guess I should announce it. I'm actually working on my new album.
Oh,
yeah.
That's just, I feel like making music is kind of my thing, but I'm really happy. If you need any support or information or help or guidance or mentorship, I'm happy to be a resource for you as you embark on this really meaningful endeavor, as I'm sure you would be for me in my studio.
I've got this really cool song called Burning Man on there, and some other things that I'm working on. It's coming in really good.
Huh. So interesting. Like whenever you share your music with people that's like that you're working on, it's like, what's the worst that could happen? But this is it, is that they just steal it. Anyway, so the studio is going to be called, I'm working on a couple different names. It's either going to be called Townhome or Vacation Home or Second Home. I'm leaning towards second home.
We have given the listeners 5 minutes of nothing.
Oh, and the best part, it's huge. If it's 109 mats, you're going to die. You're going to die when you see it. Right?
Oh my God, yeah.
So funny how all your dreams come true so quickly. Just kidding.
I know.
So we're definitely not recording at all, right? Like this is too far to left of center for anything we could ever put out to the general public.
Absolutely, 100%. No, okay. This is scrapped. We're scrapping all of this.
Scraps. We can just call this episode food scraps. Yeah. Okay. I will endeavor now to be sincere and to answer your question with honesty. And
I'd prefer you lie to me, actually.
Oh, so I'm opening a yoga studio, and right in wherever, it's like right in the middle of San Francisco. Like you can't miss it.
So Rocky, what are your wins?
Okay, my wins. Well, I feel
hold on. I have to set my Topo Chico. Give me a second, please.
I don't have any spit take wins to like my wins are. I'm actually relatively happy. I'm doing pretty well. I was queuing up for a great spit take. I'm actually doing okay. Spit take. I feel like this last year for everybody was a test to some degree of our adaptability and of our resilience. And I never say that to suggest that if you're really adaptable, everything's going to be okay, because that certainly has not been the case for some of the strongest people I know and most resilient people I know. But I do feel like I'm on the other side of having sort of reorganized and restructured and reimagined the way that I do my work and the way that I live, and what community means to me, and what home means to me, the yoga studio.
Brought to you by Home San Francisco.
Yeah, is the studio going to sponsor your own podcast?
Yeah.
Cool. I want to. I didn't know it worked that way. And so, well, I will say this. What has often informed my hustle, there's any number of things that inform the hustle. One of them is capitalism. One of them is, there's certainly, I certainly have been motivated by fear of unmet potential, or fear of adulting, fear of any number of things, and certainly lots of inspiration and lots of desire to provide something of value to the world. And when my journey started out, what I really felt I could provide primarily was entertainment. And that sort of shifted to be a blend of entertainment and also upliftment and inspiration. And like artistic self-expression. So music for a long time has been sort of the animating force behind a lot of what I do. And, I don't say I started out as a musician, because I don't really know when I started, but there was a period of my life where music was was the central element of so much of what I did. Part of that just was required in terms of the time it takes to learn an instrument, or to practice songwriting, or to learn the vocal technique and find your style and all these things. But as my yoga career has evolved, it's become increasingly more and more all-encompassing. And I don't say that with any form of regret or like complaint. I've had the most amazing ride teaching yoga. I never could have imagined the places in the world I would have gone and the experiences I'd have and what I've learned about myself and about others. And when I first started teaching, and I continue to be on that journey, and I continue to, find new ways of learning and sharing and all that. But I've always sought to find a healthy balance between my art and my work and my social life and my professional life and all of that. And the biggest win that I can say right now that feels at the forefront of my mind and my heart is that I have gone back into the studio in the last couple of weeks and picked up production on a music project that has been truly 15 years in the making, and that I got some good momentum going on in 2019 and had to kind of pause in the last year with all the shuffle and work and change and everything. So it feels like a really good place to be, where I'm able to invest ample time in my art and also have good momentum going now on my professional projects in Yoga Land and beyond that have been a long time germinating.
Yeah. I mean, selfishly, and I think I've
now you can do the spit take.
But not with my Topo Chico. Yeah, selfishly, which this episode is brought to you by. Selfishly, I'm really happy. Our sponsors,
Selfishness at Home Yoga. Great.
Townhouse.
Townhome.
I think when I've expressed to you before in the past, I really am your number one fan. Spotify has proven that you're my number one listening to artist 2 years back to back. You know what I mean?
2 years.
Yeah, 2 years in a row, man. You were number one on my Spotify. Yeah, I think that you're incredible in all the things. Just as you've taught me, there's some days where I'm incredible at this, and some days where I'm incredible at that, and some days where I want to show up to teach this, and some days where I want to teach that. And
you're never incredible at this and that on the same day, though.
Never not.
It's either this or that.
That's against the rules for sure. Yeah. They vetoed that a few years ago.
They ain't ready.
Yeah, they ain't ready for that.
Yeah.
But I know your passion for music. I know that it's something that lights you up, and it really does help facilitate everything that you do in your life. And I'm just a big fan. And, I know I've got to hear little sneak peeks, and sometimes I get little recordings and whatnot. So I mean, I'm really stoked for you, because I know that this is a big part of your life, and it's it's only everything else that you do is going to get better because you're doing the thing that you love to do, which, you've always been a big cheerleader for me. And I was hearing a lot of what you said earlier. There was some fear parts of it, and maybe even some overanalyzing of some of the stuff, but now you get to synthesize it and put it all together.
Overanalyze stuff?
Yeah.
Who do you think you're talking to?
Let's analyze that really quick.
That's definitely my thing.
Yeah, for sure. That's your thing.
Yeah.
No, but I'm excited because, this is more of a hype session, but you're incredible at what you do. And, you're super talented. And I think that it's only going to allow you to continue to share more of the other stuff in the world, be it the yoga, be it singing, right? It's a part of yoga in many ways. It's going to allow you to do that and magnify that tenfold. So friend to friend, I'm really proud of you for doing this.
Thank you, Danny. I appreciate that. And I
really do. Drop me a new album.
I'm in the studio. It's coming. I can't say anything about it. Okay. No, I can say anything about it I want. I really appreciate your support, and it's when your audience, I mean, for many years, like my primary audience for my music were like my friends and family. And then back when I was playing more shows, people kind of come in organically from that process. And, you have friends that support you because they love you, or they're like, oh, that's a good song. Like, but it's not really the kind of music they listen to or whatever it is. And so when someone is able to both like want to be a friend, an ally, and like support my art, but also has their own independent relationship with it, that I don't feel like you enjoy my music because it's me. I mean, I'm sure that might be an element of it, but I always get the sense that well, number one on Spotify, you listen to it like for your own enjoyment.
I know, I sometimes know your lyrics more than you do.
I've never had that experience of like being on stage with like I've performed at some events where there was a large audience there, but they weren't all there to see me. Artists always talk about how meaningful it is when like they got like people in the crowd are singing the words they've written, or they go different places in the world and people are singing their lyrics or have tattooed their lyrics on them, or these kind of things. Because the words that you choose to speak into the universe, certainly through song, are powerful, and or they can be, and they can. There's a lot of you in them. So when you see people having a relationship with them that connects with them, it's really beautiful. And I've had that experience, more on an individual level, because of the way that I've released music and the way that I've put it out, where I get to hear it reflected back to me. And I think because I have 3 albums that are currently out, or that I've put out over the years, and they're all completely different genres. So people that usually are attracted to one aren't necessarily attracted to the other. And so it's also interesting, the way that people connect to music, but also the music that I've put out. All that's to say, I can't explain to you how touching it is to like hear you sing my songs and have your own, like they're part of your world. Like, it's not like, I don't imagine you're singing the lyrics trying to step into my mind. Like, it's connecting with you in some way, and you're having your own relationship with it. And like, that's the goal.
I think one of my favorite things about just my relationship with your music is that there have been on multiple occasions, there's been multiple occasions where I've been in a car ride or something, and I've taken over as DJ, and it's like one of the first things I go to, because I can like, like sing it. Like I know the lyrics to every track pretty much.
Look at all the background harmonies, so I have a lot of options.
Yeah, you guys.
That's it. That's the one.
No, but people are always like, "Oh, who is this?" And I'm always like, "This is Rocky Heron. Look him up. Blah 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 blah." And like, go follow him on Spotify. You'll love him. Oh. That's one of my favorite things. But also, my other favorite thing is we can and we can get pegged as Rocky the yoga teacher. We can get whatever it is, and there have been times in car rides where I'm like, "Oh, this is Rocky." They're like Rocky, like the yoga teacher Rocky. And yeah, this is like Rocky the yoga teacher Rocky. And people have just been like, like, well, he's incredible. He's got such a great voice. So that happened. Actually, one of the times that happened with Max, he was like, "No way." I'm like, "This is Rocky." And he's like, "No, it's not." I'm like, "Literally, this is Rocky right now."
Max.
It's
Max,
just,
if you're listening, it's me. I mean, assuming he wasn't playing like a Rihanna song.
Yeah, he was like, "Weird, this sounds like Megan Thee Stallion," but I'm like, "No, it's definitely Rocky."
Nope, it's 100%. I am also.
Yada 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 yada. That song just came.
Have we shared with the listeners that I am also Megan Thee Stallion?
No, that's breaking news.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's the spit take news. Sorry, one of my wins for the last year is I did win Best New Artist at the Grammys and release a remix with Beyonce. Finally,
I have a question for you, Rocky. Actually, as we talk about you being Megan Thee Stallion and winning Grammys,
good segue.
In your world, how do you balance? Or is there even a balance of like, we're multifaceted, right? And I think about this as I'm learning about, for instance, my back injury. Like yoga actually isn't the only thing I should be doing. I need to be doing some other stuff outside. So how do you balance, or you are known as, we were talking about this on the podcast last week, actually. You're known as Rocky, the yoga teacher, but on Instagram, you're Rocky, the underwear model. And, you're.
So when you play my music for people, they're like, this is Rocky, like Rocky, the underwear model, Rocky?
Yeah. Some people do that too. They're like, oh, this guy. Yeah. Is
this guy.
How do you,
that's the kind of name ID I'm looking for.
Yeah.
This guy.
How do you balance it? For me, I think a lot of we've talked about this in the past where I thought I had to separate myself, and instead I just integrated it all, and it actually made every part of my life that much better.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that is the question that I feel like I've asked my whole sort of adult life and young adult life is how do I, for a while, the question was more like which one should I choose? I spent a lot of time trying to choose one thing. And it's not even that time was unsuccessful, because I'd be like, okay, I'm going to choose this. And I would choose that thing and I would do it for a while and get some good momentum going, and then be like, oh no, I actually want to choose that. And then I kind of would set that down and put more time and energy into this other thing, but then be like, oh, but I kind of still need to keep that going because I started it and I actually do care about it. It's like a garden. Like, there's multiple things going on here, and they all need different nourishment and also different degrees of being left alone to grow. And as my garden kind of grew of I would choose one thing to plant at a time, but then there was a whole bunch to tend to. I would ask that question a lot. Well, no, how do I blend all of these? And I think the way that I used to think of it was how can I blend them all into one thing that I choose to do? One of the classes that inspired me to do my teacher training, I don't remember much from the class. It was a good class. It was a vinyasa class by a teacher named Tamal Dodge. And at the end of the class in Shavasana, there was this really beautiful music happening. And it was sounded kind of sort of reminiscent of Jason Mraz, who I still love, but at the time I was
just
obsessed
a
with.
Curbside prophet with my hand in my pocket and I'm waiting for my ride. I don't own the rights to this song. This episode is brought to you by Jason Mraz. Yeah,
so I was in Shavasana and that song came on, just really soothing. Beatnik. Folk. The sounds of San Diego. It was it was in Sanskrit with a guitar, acoustic, and just really beautiful. And I had that thought of I want to know what song this is. I need to ask what song this is, and then be like, oh no, it's Shavasana. I need to chill and just enjoy it. So I was able to just kind of settle in and enjoyed the music. It was very soothing. And then when I came out of Shavasana, I looked up and the teacher had a guitar next to him, and I realized, oh, that was live. That was the teacher singing. And that was sort of a moment where I recognized that if I taught yoga, which was very much aligned with things that I was interested in at the time, and of course still am, and there was opportunity for me to thread my other interests in. So I was definitely interested in figuring out a scenario or a career or just a way that I could synthesize all these different intentions and interests into one offering. And so my classes have always sort of featured that, or that's been a recurring element in my classes from the beginning. And first album that I put out sort of officially was an album of Sanskrit mantra that I would sing at the end of my classes. And that's the stuff of mine that's the most listened to, because I think it does achieve that goal. If you're interested in yoga, or you've done a training with me or taken a class with me or not, or if you're someone that enjoys that kind of music or plans classes and has playlists to create with appropriate songs. That certainly, that's why I put that out. But I'm kind of on a tangent because I forgot your initial question. But I think as it relates to integrating the parts, I think where I've arrived at over the years is recognizing that, I don't have to integrate the parts. I just have to integrate the parts of myself within myself. And then I am that thing that I've been working on. It's not I need to blend all these projects into one project. If there's any overall project of my life. It's the cultivation of me as an individual, and who I am is an integration of all of my interests and all the things that I've experienced that have shaped who I am. So I bring that into my teaching. I bring my background in performance or improv, or I bring a musical element into my teaching, or my appreciation for rhythm and pace and language and word. Like all that is a part of how I teach, and I also bring all that I've learned from teaching about myself and my instrument and my awareness and my ability to like unlock different parts of my mind or my intuition into my songwriting. Now, in terms of balancing it out, where like every single one of my creative or work projects or both are like growing at the same rate, that I've not been able to balance, because I feel like that's where it starts to get into like time, like linear time and capacity. And I guess that circles back to what I'm saying. I think my win for now, I know it's not like permanent, but I feel like I've been able to get my work life to a place where not like I can just put it down, set it and forget it kind of thing. I'm still, creating things, and part of that's like intrinsically motivated. Part of it's motivated by like agreements that I've made with people that I will create this thing for you. And that keeps me accountable. My community, my students, the folks that want to continue to learn from me and with me. Not only do I like not want to abandon them, not that they need me, but I get a lot out of that process. So I continue to do that, but to be in a place where I can be home and I can carve out a couple days out of the week to go to the studio and just put that hat on and be in that space. It's a part of my garden that might have been wilting a little bit or dying or malnourished, I feel like is once more able to receive what it needs to grow. And that feels good.
I think one of the things that a few things that you really said there is more, these sides are not like, they're just not separate. They don't have to be in different containers. And, we visit that one and we visit this one and we visit that one, because I think that we can spend a decent amount of our own energy trying to keep ourselves separate versus making ourselves whole.
Yeah. It makes me think actually about, we talk a lot about Burning Man on the show for obvious reasons. But I remember what's
it called? Blinking Guy?
Yes. Are you going to
Blinking Dude? Blinking Dude?
Didn't we meet at Blinking Dude last year?
Yeah.
Oh God. You guys, you got to go to Blinking Dude. I just got back from Blinking Dude. What I tell you, indescribable. You got to see it to believe it. At the end of the week, they blink the dude. It's spectacular.
This one got you, huh?
God, the music at Blinking Dude this year was
that one got you, Rocky.
Yes, consider me riddle me got.
Okay, so you think about we talk a lot about Burning Man on this show.
I just really hope that Blinking Dude happens this year. Who do you camp with the Blink? Who do you camp with the Blinking Dude? Oh God, I've always wanted to go to Blinking Dude, but I don't think I could do it. I hate being dirty.
Oh, so good. Okay, so you were saying we talk a lot about Burning Man.
Yes. And I remember the first couple of years that I went, like everything that happened at Burning Man and who I sort of was at Burning Man or like became over the course of the week there, and everything felt very much contained to like Burning Man, where it was like I come back home and there was like this big kind of like culture shock of stepping back into the default, and then I was like, I got to go back there and like dip the cloth in that again and like saturate myself in that. And over the years, I mean, this next time I go will be my 9th time going. The intention to like dip the cloth and maintain some of the color has certainly bled out into like all of my life, where some of the most meaningful relationships I have are with people I initially met at Burning Man, but actually the meaning of our relationship has deepened tremendously, not at Burning Man, just, it's a week that you're there and you kind of blast into each other in this like, really like beautiful kaleidoscopic way. But then, as you come back into your world, you have to integrate those parts, where I don't think of Burning Man as this place I have to go to experience those parts of myself anymore. They are with me now. And I think of it kind of similarly with like yoga, where, for when you first start the practice, yoga is something that you do in a certain place at a certain time, in a certain way. And that is sort of like, that's where yoga happens. And then there's like, oh, take it off the mat. Like what of this can you take with you? And you start to kind of take it with you. And not only that, like you are constantly adapting to all these forces in various ways, like wherever you are, not just when you're in that place doing the thing. And then the lines just get blurry, where it's like I can still go to a yoga studio and practice a particular sequence of movements in a particular, like I can saturate myself in that, and there's a lot to be received from that. But it's not like that then is finished, or that like the practice somehow becomes it's something else when you go into the next area. I bring this up just to suggest, like, as my I don't say definition of yoga, but just as I've adapted to my yoga and the rest of my life over the years, that has naturally sort of integrated the parts of who I am, because yoga in many ways is about the integration of parts. It's like the development of individual parts and then the synthesis of those parts. And that, of course, starts to bleed out into all the things you do. So that I feel like I've only just recently come to that place in my awareness or in my, just the way that I see myself. And this podcast has been a big part of that, because prior to doing this kind of thing, I thought that my work was to teach people yoga poses, or teach them how to teach yoga poses or techniques, or different aspects of the yoga system, and recognizing that shenanigans and tomfoolery aside, which also plays a role, like having conversations and sharing honestly, and asking questions and inviting in community to like listen and resonate and participate and just be a part of all this. Like there's a lot of teaching that happens in it. There's a lot of growth that can happen in it. And there's a lot of value that can happen in it. So it's like, are we doing yoga right now? Is this, we haven't really talked much about it. But it's still, I'm on a yoga podcast. So, I think you get what I'm saying. I've kind of let go of the need to balance and integrate, and recognize that as long as I continue to balance and integrate myself in real-ish time, those parts can't help but come with me and blend with me as I flow, baby.
Yeah, I think, you hit the nail. Just point taken on like all of it is yoga. The conversations that we have are yoga. The ways that we show up in the world as yoga teachers, and then, have conversations like this, gives people really solid lens as to, oh yeah, and we're also real people, and also we're going through it, and also that we're sometimes good and other times we're bad. And sometimes we talk about depression and other times we talk about blinking guy and all that, it's just,
and
it's a whole smorgasbord of stuff.
When I'm good, I'm really good.
And when I'm bad, I'm really bad. That I goes. When I'm good, I'm good. When I'm bad, I don't know the rest of it goes.
So I was saying it not like I came up with it, like I've heard it before, but the way that you just said it sounded like Mae West, which then I'm like, oh, it must be a Mae West quote. So great. You do a great Mae West. That's the point.
When I'm good, I'm good. When I'm bad, I don't know the rest of this part. Yeah.
When I'm bad, I'm even better. Something like that.
When I'm bad, I'm even better.
I just had to think like Mae West, and
why don't you come up and see me sometime? Right? Is that how it goes?
I think that's the Melissa McCarthy SNL parody of Mae West. Have you seen that sketch? She just
no.
It's that over and over again, but every time she walks up the stairs, she trips and falls down the stairs. Just like this. I mean, it's like not. It's funny, but it's not funny.
It's the story of my life.
Yeah, exactly. It's based off your life, and also Mae West, just like this podcast. Well, I forgot.
What are you most excited? What are you most excited about this year?
You can say it.
I'm right here. It's fine. I'm right here. You can say it. I'm here.
You're here to support me in saying it, or you're here? I'm excited about Townhome.
and Blinking Guy.
Townhome and Blinking Guy.
It's a toss up. Townhome or Blinking Guy. Oof. That's rough.
I can't choose. You know, I refuse to choose. I'm gonna integrate both. They're both my favorites. Oh my god!
I'm gonna Blinking Guy inside Townhome.
Wow. I mean, It sounds amazing. Oh, yeah. It started small. There's only 2 people there the first year, but it's going to grow.
No one ever came.
Yeah. And then no one ever shut up. I feel like what I'm excited about is also what I'm most kind of nervous about. I've been feeling a bit of anxiety lately. And I think actually this might be a bit more of a share that I mean to get into, but I've been able to identify certain feelings that I've had with me for a long time under the umbrella of anxiety. I've never really put words to it before. Mm-hmm. I kind of just thought I was like, oh, my energy's off, or I'm feeling resistance, or these metaphysical terms, which I subscribe to, but kind of calling something out in that kind of blunt way, like I have anxiety or I'm feeling anxiety. And it's been interesting because I've been working with it in kind of new ways or from a new vantage point. And it's been really interesting to look at how that feeling sort of manifests in all areas of my life, and also just in the way, including just my identity. And I mean, I'm not saying this stoic pity, if anything, just to I'm sure we all can relate to certain aspects of it.
Sure.
So, and part of it was inflamed as of late by everything kind of starting to open up again. And I realized I was probably one of the only guys or people out there that was as everyone was I can't wait for things to get quote unquote back to normal or to get going again. And I was kind of yeah, psych. I actually really, I mean, my heart is broken for the people that really suffered during this time. I don't make light of what things shutting down has meant for so many people. Yeah. But for me, it was a really wonderful opportunity to pause and be able to water parts of my garden that I just couldn't when I was constantly traveling, which I loved. But it started to feel like I didn't know a way out of that particular option. And my whole life has changed as a result. I mean, not in I live in one place. I have a dog. I have a boyfriend that lives here in the same city as me. I have a new place that I live. I'm working from home. And a lot of that, I think, a lot of the motivation that allowed me to kind of really pursue that with the amount of gusto that I did, part of it was fear. Part of it was capitalism. And I think a big part of it was that so much, because everything had kind of shut down, there wasn't really a lot of external motivation to work really hard. It was kind of everyone take a break, chill. If you want to binge watch TV for however many months, it's okay. It's okay to be still in process and use this time in that way. And I think because I didn't feel that pressure to be optimizing and working and doing the most, it kind of came it came up naturally where I was able to like tap my own wellspring of like motivation for a time. So now that it's starting to open up, and now it's like, I feel like there's gonna be more of kind of outside encouragement to like get out and like, let's ramp things up again. And living in LA, like, let's start to work on our brand and our this and our that, and like all the ways that people are kind of on that, let's go say like hamster wheel, but like just on that kind of nonstop mode. I started to feel that.
I don't think you have to go back to that, dude.
I don't. Really don't. And so, okay. So you asked the question, what am I most excited about? And I say then I went on a long tangent about my anxiety, but
you're most excited about your anxiety. Got it. Yay! Celebrate.
Is that relatable? But I feel like I'm excited to watch things open up again, and for me to feel like I can engage with it on my own terms. I've gotten my life to a point where I don't now have to, bounce around the world in order to like pay my rent and do the things I need to do. I can choose to do that. So I think the anxiety is more of just like, I'm starting to feel that like, oh, I got to start going again. But then I'm like, oh, actually I don't. And so I'm excited to be in a place where I can have a more empowered relationship with my schedule and with my habits and my life and my art and all these things. Again, it's not like big, huge, like, to me, it's very significant wins because they're very hard won. And it's like, if you've been climbing up a mountain for a long time, when you get to the top of the mountain and you like sit down and it's just beautiful, it's like, it's less dynamic and loud and rugged and like intense as the climb, but there's something really nice about being able to sit and just take it in and enjoy the view. And I feel like I'm kind of more or less in that spot this week on Thursday.
Well, next week when we do part 3, that might be different. I again, I don't think, every time we do these an episode is always fun. And it's, I think, even cooler when we get to these episodes where we really just get to drop in and listen to all the things. And your life has blossomed in so many beautiful ways this past year, like it's been really cool to watch. And I only see you moving further in, I don't want to say a more structured way, but a more, I can only describe it as like when I had my experience in December where I was like, I am owning and acting as if this is, and I just see you, just more rocky in so many, there's this unapologetic side of you that I see nowadays. And it's just very cool. It's like, it's, what works for you now, and what you want, and not that you didn't before, but there's just more of this je ne sais quoi. It's just, you got this radiance, this vibrancy, and this ownership, this very standing tall in who you are. And like I the same, dude, I don't think we've talked about this off air, but like, I don't want to go back to the way it was before. I don't want to run around studio to studio. I don't want to fly around the world all the time. And like, I don't want to do all those things that like people thought were glamorous when they were just eating me on the inside. And, I think that now with where we're at and what we've learned and what we've gone through, and, the work that we've put in, has given us this permission to land in this beautiful place where with whatever we do forward, we don't have to work hard. It's going to be work, but it doesn't have to be hard. It doesn't have to be hard work. It doesn't have to be grueling. It could just be work. Some days there's going to be a lot of it. Some days there's going to be not as much. And it's just work, and it's going to be exciting. And some days we're going to be like a little like, okay, like I'm kind of over this for the day, but it doesn't have to be hard anymore. And that's what I've realized. And I can see that in you. You're just very, it's just very, it's a cool reflection as your friends. I know we hype each other up on this show, but this is your first time hearing this. It's just very cool to see, even from afar, and even to hear the way that you speak of it. It's very cool.
Thank you, Danny. That means a lot to me. I want to say, both in regards to like this conversation and also what we touched on before a little bit about
Blinking Guy.
I just want to circle it back around to Blinking Guy if I could. I'm sorry. I was thinking about the art cards at Blinking Guy. They're the way they flash.
That was my fault. Reel it in, Rocky. Reel it in.
Sorry. I had something meaningful to say. Our conversation before about the nature of like, or the context of a yoga practice. I do recognize, like, if someone says, "Oh, I'm interested in learning yoga. Can you teach me? Or where should I go to find like a good yoga class?" And if I said something like, "Well, really, you don't have to go anywhere. Yoga is life, and this is yoga, and we're always doing yoga. You're doing it right now. Just, whatever." They'd be like, "Okay, thanks for the help." Like, there is something about doing the thing in a particular way in a certain context that plants those seeds, I think, that is useful and valuable. It's like someone's like, "Have you ever seen The Matrix?" "Oh, you've never seen The Matrix?" Like, "What's The Matrix?" "Well, this is it, man. We're in it right now. What's The Matrix about?" It's like, okay, well, I guess I gotta see the movie. So I think it's a similar thing with yoga, because I hear a lot of teachers saying these, myself included, like all the time, that like everything is my yoga practice, or everything can be a form of my practice, even as it relates to just movement. Like when I go to the gym and I'm lifting weights, that still feels like an extension of my practice. Right. I was like, okay, well, is that weightlifting or is that yoga? And in the same way, I think back to that version of myself that wasn't that long ago that was so hyped about teaching my first retreat, or so terrified and excited and intimidated by leading my first training, or even my first workshop, or the idea of getting on a plane and going to some other city or state or country or continent to like teach people was just both so exciting and so anxiety producing. And so to be at a place where I can say, I don't want to do that anymore as much. I mean, I love traveling. I love my community. I love being able to connect with people in other parts. Like I've had so many amazing experiences with that. So not to discredit any of that or suggest that I didn't want to be doing it while I was doing it. I've loved it. But I guess just to say, like, for our listeners that are teachers, or they're just starting on their journey, or they're at a place where they want to be traveling more, doing these other things. Not that I think we've discouraged any of that, but I just want to be clear that I'm at this point of saying that, and I think you too, from having done it and gained the experiences from it that we wanted to gain from it, and learning and growing from it, to then be on the other side of it and be able to make different choices. Like coming out of a teacher training, would you have, like, maybe you would have wanted to, but like the experience of opening your own studio, I'm sure has so much different meaning for you now on the other side of so much that you've done and experienced already than if it was like the first thing you did. Not to say you couldn't do that first thing. It's a different learning, different experiential journey. So yeah, it's one of the reasons. I'm sure this is true of a lot of different industries, but like you tell someone, so what do you do for a living? "Oh, I teach yoga." And like, that kind of doesn't, it's always interesting to watch or speculate as like how people's gears are turning and who they think you are and what you do based on that answer. Yeah. That's why I kind of hate the question, "What do you do?" But I still find myself asking it. Because then it's like, well, you might actually have no idea what I do based on that answer, or who I am based on that answer, because it's such a unique path for all of us. And I know teachers that have spent decades traveling the world and being sort of nomadic, and have really thrived in those ways, and vice versa with owning a studio and being in one spot. So it's like, I think for both of us, there's the kind of like, for both of us living in one place, for me working from home, from you working in part from home, and then like at your place of business in your city, seems like a pretty normal thing. Right. But also like for people like you and I, you and me, how novel is that?
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
It goes back to that thing of like people that are so, I'm going to stay at home. I'm so restless. I'm like so eager to get out and do stuff. And I'm like, you have no idea how novel it is for me to be home.
I don't want to leave. Yeah.
Or to like, you'll when you do, then you'll be able to, then you will. Yeah. So I feel very grateful and as always, like privileged in the ways that I am, and aware of the work that I've done to be able to position myself in this way. And I'm likewise very proud of you. And I'm very grateful to have a brother like you on this path. Like, just whenever I feel so kind of isolated or boundaried by the uniqueness of my life and what I'm experiencing, and kind of like trying to think who I can find that can relate or that can just understand what I'm experiencing or going through, whatever. Like, it's always you, Danny. You the one.
It me.
It you, boo.
It me. Well, I mean, same, Rocky. I know we often have these love fest on here, and I could say it for days and days and days and hours and hours and hours, but yeah, I mean, it's cool. C for same.
For now.
For same. For blinking guy.
For group, yeah. At home.
I'm excited what the rest of the year is going to, how it's going to pan out for us. And I know that we've both got some really fun, exciting things on the horizon. We'll get to connect in person and have you at the studio and all the things. So thanks for being you, Rocky. Thanks for letting us be filled into all the deliciousness, the yumminess that is your life.
For me, letting you be filled in.
Thank you for filling us in, Rocky.
Thank you for letting me be filled. We're done. Podcast over. My pleasure. Thank you for giving me the chance, as always, to share so many parts of who I am, from the ridiculous to the profane to the smarty to the dummy to the blinking to the dude.
So this episode brought to you by Blinking Guy.
And scene.
All right, y'all. This has been Rocky and Danny saying peace out.